Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me on Instagram as Skeindeer and I'm Skeindeer Knits as a designer on Ravelry. However, I am not going to talk about my designs today. Whew, I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, rude. No, I just thought I'd make a little bonus video of sorts to talk about my make-9. You may remember the make-9 from last year and the year before and how I tend not to complete most of them, and so I kind of decided I'm just not going to make a make-9 because I'm clearly not doing it. So I've taken a couple of steps. I should probably start from the beginning, shouldn't I? Tell you what the make-9 is. What is the make-9? Make-9 is an Instagram thing. You know, on Instagram you put these square photos up and you can cut these square photos into 9 squares. You know, 3, 3, 3, and basically put the 9 things you would like to make this year. People in the crafting community use this to basically set themselves some New Year's crafting resolutions, so to speak. I've seen a lot of really good ones lately where people are actually putting more abstract things in there, like I want to knit for my stash, I want to knit a pattern in my library, I want to use a leftover pattern project, things like that, which I think is really cool, and I would have liked to do that if I was at all organised. But mostly people put specific patterns in there. So I've done that despite not actually completing more than one from last year, and I cast on the other 2 and that was about it. So what is my reasoning? Well, it's sort of the same reasoning that I had in previous years, which was, it doesn't matter if I don't make it. It's not a failure if I don't make any of it at the end of the year, you know. It's just, at the time being, if I could cast on anything right now here, January 2020, these would be the things that I would be knitting on. Maybe December 2020, I don't feel like that way anymore and I would not have made all those things during the year, and that's fine. But for the time being, this is what I want to make and I want to tell you guys about it. And if anything, I will have given a nice little shout out to 9 different patterns. So yeah, I'm about to head out to New York actually, so this is gonna have to be a quick one, and so my notes are literally my little make-9 illustration here on the grams. So number 1, I've actually cast on already. See, I'm gonna make things. It's gonna happen. So that is Blomsternet. Blomsternet comes from the third. Hang on. Kofteboken, which is annoyingly only in Norwegian and mostly just available in Norway. I have found that it's available on Adlibris, the Swedish bookstore. I mean, it exists in different languages, but the Swedish one seems to take in Norwegian books, so if you want it in Norwegian, I suppose that's an option for you Europeans out there, but if you're not, I don't know how you would be able to get it, honestly. Norway's very insular when it comes to the commercial knitting scene. It's both hard to export and also not really something that is very incentivized, because there is such a big knitting scene within Norway. Like, why should we care about anything outside? There's like plenty to go around in the country, so it's unfortunately very difficult, which is frustrating for me as well, living outside of Norway and liking a lot of Norwegian things. Anyway, without further ado, this is the sweater I'm gonna make. Okay, so that was not a good illustration. So that's a bit better, isn't it? Look at that. You can see how I fell in love with that sweater. It's very much up to sort of, you know, Eastlander category of these sort of sailor sweaters in black and white with some striped rib. It's, yeah. So here are some other photos you can see here. Yeah, so what sold me on this pattern, apart from just how amazing it looks? Well, it's knitted in Vilja. Vilja is probably my desert island yarn. It's a fingering to sport weight, I'm gonna just say fingering weight, 2-ply woolen spun lamb's wool from Hillesvåg, my favorite mill in Norway. So that's a no-brainer. And it actually recommends the exact same colors that I used for my Islander/Icelander sweater pattern, so I'm just gonna be making another one in that aesthetic. So as I said, I have actually already started, and I read through the pattern, I copied it, and I like arranged my kind of cell phone photos of the book pages onto one page in Word it all fit, and I edited it so it looked like it was just black and white and not just like blurry photographies. Printed it and didn't follow it. So instead I actually used the method that I've used in the Icelander pattern and the Ultra pattern. I think this is probably closer to version A in the Icelander pattern, so the simpler version without the shorter shaping, because doing that in this sort of pattern, I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's basically what I did. But I did use the stitch count from the pattern, so at the end of the day it will be the same. We'll have the same number of stitches, rows, the kind of increase rate for the neckline is as close to the pattern as you can get, and this is what we've got. So the pattern is actually, you know, bottom up. You're supposed to knit one kind of body tube and 2 sleeve tubes, and you just sew the sleeves into the body, and you just work it flat from here to shape the neckline, right? And I just don't like that. I would just rather steek everything. On top of that, actually, Norwegian patterns don't tend to put an actual steek in terms of the number of extra stitches into the arm. You just have to kind of suss it out and cut, and I would rather have these little extra stitches here to cut through. It's just my preference. It kind of becomes more of a modified drop sleeve when you do it the Norwegian way. I just rather have steek stitches in there. So what did I do instead? I just basically got half the stitch count of my size. I think I used the second to largest size. It's not a great size range in this pattern, I will say that. And I basically cast on that half stitch count for the back, and then according to my method you're supposed to pick up for the front, but actually I thought it's going to be such a faff to do with this pattern, so instead I tried out a new way of doing the exact same thing, which was basically, oh god, how am I going to explain this? So starting from the beginning, casting on, I used a provisional cast on where you wind your knitting yarn together with the leftover yarn. So I did that for the stitches from shoulder to neck, so front here. Then I did a backwards loop cast on for the neckline, just for the steek, so that these bits here are connected so you can't put your head through. Then I went back to a provisional cast on and provisional cast on from here to here. I wouldn't bother breaking the scrap yarn for this, where I just did a backwards loop cast on for the sleeve steek, and I did continue just the provisional cast on for the back up until the neck. Then I did a very long backwards loop cast on for the whole length of the back of the neck, because there's no steek for that, you know, you're not gonna dip the back of the neckline. I mean, the pattern doesn't tell me to, so I'm not doing that. And then finally a last provisional cast on for the back from here to here, and joining in the round after having done again a couple of backwards loop stitches for that steek here. That meant I could work a lot more easily in the round, and then once I was down to about where I am now, I basically transferred the provisional stitches for each back and front here, so excluding the couple of steek stitches that I backwards loop cast on, and I basically did a 3 needle bind off on the inside like this, so you can see that. And I did the same thing on the other side. So now it looks a lot more like a sweater than what looked initially more like a bottom-up sweater. And I also shaped the neckline around the steek before I cut it open. So the steek is hiding in here, and that's basically that. I'm really pleased with having worked this out. I'm really just perfecting this method of mine, this top-down drop sleeve colorwork sweater method. I'm really proud of it. I may make a big fuss about it again. But this is not my pattern, it is the pattern in that book. I'm just turning it upside down, which is something I always enjoy doing. So it's really tempting now to start picking up for the rib for the neckline and just do that, but I haven't kicked up more yarn, and it would be a faff to knit from the same skeins, even though I did that for the 3 needle bind off, but that wasn't that long. So just kind of halfway through to the underarm now, I think. And then it's just going to be straight. And the chart is so easy and memorizable. I haven't looked at the chart once even, I just understood it right away. It is so simple. So yeah, it's kind of fun to have developed this construction method, because I'm realizing I can put any existing Norwegian drop sleeve pattern into that Basically anything goes. Like I just done it with the Marias. I want to try it with more. You can literally just transfer, and yeah, okay, so the stitches will be upside down. If you're fussy about that, then maybe don't. But in terms of my kind of verdict when it comes to should you just cast on for the back stitches the way it does in the Ultra and Eyelander pattern and pick up along the front, or do what I did now with the provisional cast on and the backwards loop stitches in between. To that I will say depends on your confidence level. It might just be easier to do what it says in the pattern. Obviously you have to finagle a little bit with Magic Leap and that will be a bit tricky, but this is also a bit tricky because you have to really keep track on your backwards loop stitches and provisional stitches, and they don't look, you know, nice and tidy as you're doing it. It can be easy to miscount, which I didn't, so maybe I'm just overestimating that risk and it's actually not that prevalent. Also, when I 3 needle bound off the two sides, they are a bit offset, so if you're feeling a bit particular about that, they will be offset, and there will be a little bit of a stripe of plain one color in the middle of the shoulder seam. So if you're fussy about that, you may want to use the original method in my pattern, but if not, yeah. Or you could just follow the pattern as written. That would be way easier. Like that's way easier. Aside from the bits we have to put a little bit of colour work and figure out the steek of the armhole and stuff, like it's way easier to do the pattern. I just, personally, I enjoy top down. It's nice to estimate length, but I have actually kind of come around full circle and actually quite prefer bottom up right now, and I do like to, I like to have the pieces separate, and I don't find it that hard to estimate length anymore. But yeah, I kind of want to do this top down. So that's just what's happening, and that's all I have to say about that. So everything else I'm going to talk about for this little extra clip will be my plans. This was just one kind of hands-on that I have to show you right now. The rest of them are more at the theoretical stage. So number 2, you will have heard me talk about before, because I immediately, just as soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm going to knit that exactly as it is. And just colours, everything. I just need exactly that. It's a crop top, colourwork sweater knit from sleeve to sleeve, sideways, in greys and red by Kate Davis. Just sign me up already. Just sign me up. So I'm just putting all the pictures here. Future me, note to self. I have struggled a bit with finding the yarn. Surely I could knit from my Holst cones, right? I got this yarn, that would be good. I'm just personally feeling like the contrast here is, whoa, too high. I feel like the contrast here is just too high. Now I got a medium grey as well, but the medium grey is too similar to either. It is kind of far enough from this, so I could do that, but then it would be a much lighter grey than the pattern. The pattern is actually a lot darker, but the dark grey is nearly charcoal. It's nearly black. It's a charcoal that's nearly black. So that's frustrating. I found it very hard to find the right shades of grey that is in a sort of nice fingering grey yarn that I would really like to work with. So that's my challenge there. I might keep my eyes peeled for that in New York, but I might also just get a kit from her. I really do like Kate Davis' yarn, so we'll see. Either way, I am really excited about trying this construction method where you basically cast on for the sleeve, you knit it in the round, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it's actually at the very kind of length of the body. And I think that would be really cool. So I do actually find it a bit short for my preferred crop length. I will assess the schematic on that one and see if I'm gonna sneak in some more increases. But then again, if I knit with Holst super soft, I know from experience that Holst has a way of, when you knit it, this direction, it gets a bit squashed lengthwise after a while. So if you think you knitted to, I don't know, I'm just making up numbers now, 25 centimeters, you may find that later down the line is more like, I don't know, 23, 22, like you're just going to lose a bit of length after a while. So if that's going to happen to the sleeves, I might just have to put in more length in the sleeves. Putting in more length in the sleeves, more room for actually increasing for the length of the body. This is going to work out. This is me in my planning stages. It's a very interesting place to be. And the damage usually happens in the evening when I'm just like too tired to pick up anything existing, but totally awake enough to cast on something new that I have no idea how it works yet. Welcome to the interior of my brain. It's a very interesting kind of haunted house kind of place. Number 3. This one I should have already made. I have the yarn, I've got the right colours. I'm going to use the exact same yarn and colours in the pattern because it is the California Trondheim mittens. Sophia of Caliborn and Dennis went to my hometown, Trondheim. My lovely, beautiful, yet slightly boring hometown. That seems to be like getting all the attention lately, especially because of the Trondheim mittens. I think they've done a lot for tourism in Trondheim, which I mean is already very popular with German and Asian tourists, but now it seems to be attracting all the knitters, which I'm like, what are you going to do there? It's a really boring yarn shopping city, but it's a really lovely town. It's beautiful, and it's got these like flame colored docks that has, you know, red and orange yellow wooden buildings along the river, and Sophia captured that beautifully in her mittens, you know, with the blue sky and the sort of colour work that makes you think of snowflakes. And yeah, I have to have those. I have knitted her mitten patterns once before. I did the shine mittens, and I really like them. I really like them. So these will happen, and maybe this year is the year. Though I didn't make them last year, so who's to say? But yeah, got no desire to modify these. They're gorgeous. And yeah, a bit of Trondheim pride. I've got a lot of mittens, and I'm just thinking, you know, when I have a proper future home and it's all mine and I do whatever I want with it, I'm just going to decorate with mittens. And what better to decorate with mittens that symbolise my silly little hometown, where we have the just most adorable dialect. Yeah, maybe I should do an episode just talking in that dialect. I would also do one in English as well, but it would be kind of funny. It's such a dialect. The thing in Norway is, like, if you have a dialect, you talk that dialect. Like, it's not like I switch it on and then I go back to regular Norwegian. Like, you don't do that in Norway. You speak how you speak. That's your dialect, that's how you speak. It could change throughout your life, yes, but you talk how you talk. So kind of funny. Number 4. We're on road number 2 now. This is taking longer than I thought, but you know, we take our time. I think I remember Isolde actually knitting on this tee, but I could be wrong there. I feel like she did. At Woolen. And it's a really nice t-shirt that she's designed, and size inclusive as ever, you know, points for that, but I'm mostly intrigued by the construction. I remember asking her, is this like contiguous or something? She's like, no. And I'm like, what is it then? So I'm super intrigued to find out this sort of weird top-down t-shirt that seems just very nice and wearable. And I got the sweater quantity of hand-dyed yarn from Snuggly Stars Yarn that she knitted into a t-shirt in an entirely different pattern, and it just looked really cool in that yarn in those colours. It's this merino silk yak in a colourway she called Blue Rainbow, and I think that's gonna be really lovely. So that's what that t-shirt's gonna look like. It's gonna be very colourful and variegated and very out of my comfort zone, but it's just what I want, so try to stop me. The only challenge is that a sweater quantity or a t-shirt quantity for me, I can actually get away with 3 fingering weight skeins. But how do you alternate 3 skeins? It's an odd number. I can usually get away with having 4 skeins, and they can be alternated. 3? I don't know. So I don't have to weave in that many ends. I can see how I can like make it work and stuff, but so many ends. So that'd be fun. That'd be good. So good. So that's the plan. Would really like to cast that on now, but whoa, it's a lot of light in here, isn't it? Number 5 is a beautiful sweater by Pip and Pin. Pip they just seem to come out of nowhere, be like, hey, we got amazing designs, they're just beautiful, they're just great. And I'm like, yeah, I want them, thank you. And this one in particular, I'm like, so I got the pattern, it's all like, I think I've got all these patterns that I've talked about so far, so that helps. But for this one, I actually don't have the yarn. And I really do want to knit from stash. And I did see a beautiful project for this sweater that had used Ulis in yellow. Happened to have a sweater quantity of Ulis in yellow. But it is a much lighter weight and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And I really would like to have a sweater in Fibre Company Cumbria, even though it's a little bit on the pricey side. I just think it's a lovely yarn, despite having little to do with Cumbria. Apart from that, they're based there, which is pretty nice. I love Cumbria. Since I was there in November, I'm like, Cumbria's nice. We like Cumbria. So I would really like to have a sweater in that. Now the other dilemma is, do I want this beautiful yellow or their beautiful burgundy? They have a very nice burgundy in that yarn. But that yellow was really what pulled me in, and so that's a challenge. I don't know. You know, I'm definitely going to get a little wear of a burgundy, but then again, I don't have any yellow sweaters. How do I know how much I'm going to wear a yellow sweater? Maybe I should finish some of my yellow sweater projects. Say, Vertical Stripe Sweater by Petite Knits or the Blank Canvas by Isolde. That would be something. I could do that. That might help me find out. So, stay tuned. It might not be the first thing I cast on, but it's definitely in my queue. I am just very intrigued by the simplicity of the design. Yeah, super original. It looks like it's just like columns of eyelets but rows of garter. I'm like, it's such a beautifully simple idea. I love it. I'm probably gonna see if I can maybe not do it flat exactly. I just don't want to purl that stuff, so I might see if I can maybe short row it a bit. So I don't want to do that much purling. I don't want to do that much seaming. It's hard to be me. And number 6, I kind of cast it on, like I did tease you guys about this last time, and that is the Stag Head pullover, which I'm definitely doing in Burgundy Gilead yarn by Deverm Natura. It's gonna be gorgeous, and all that. It's just the perfect motif, perfect color, perfect. I'm probably gonna crop it a bit. I think I want to take some length out of it. I am doing it in the round, and I've cast on twice, and I'm gonna have to do it a third time, which is why I'm not gonna show you, because I twisted it. I twisted it when I joined in the round, which I'm not too bothered about because I've only done like a couple of rows and rounds, and I cast on 4 stitches too many. Because really, when you're gonna do something in the round that was made to be flat, you should be able to take out the selvage stitches. So that'll be the stitch on either end of the flat piece that you're just supposed to seam in with the stitch on the other end of the other piece. They will be invisible. They're not going to be part of the garment of the measurements. Usually that's how it works. Knitting it around means I don't need those unless I want to like fake seam it or something, but I don't think I want to. The reason I actually have already cast it on twice is because the pattern does something I don't understand why, and I don't really want to do it, is making you cast on way more stitches than you'll need later to have more stitches for the rib before you decrease. I think it was like 12 stitches on each side, 24 altogether. That's a lot of a worsted weight sweater before you start the cables. So in Norway, which is how a lot of sentences of mine start on this podcast, we do the other way around. We will often have fewer stitches for the rib and then increase for the body, because you don't need that many stitches for rib actually. I think that's the logic. I'm not going to do that, but I'm also not going to have more stitches, so I've decided I'm going to cast on the stitch count to have after the rib and just do the rib in that stitch count, and it will be just a lighter sweater. I don't think I need all that density. I'm a bit worried that worsted weight sweaters will be quite heavy, so I will do that. So I'll cast it on for a third time. That's what I'm going to do. And, yeah, take out those 4 stitches and try not to twist. I really don't think it should be necessary for people to put that in the pattern, but oh, it does happen sometimes. It's just the struggle. Number 7. I have actually cast this on in the past, and that is the Trio Shawl by Stick Elisa, aka Elizabeth, who's lovely. And yeah, really happy to be knitting something of hers. Like I said, cast it on previously, but that was the incident of the German flag. Where I picked up this beautiful red, black and sort of autumnal brown orangey colour of Sölja, the pelt wool yarn. When it's striped together, and I saw this very quickly, I was like, it looks like the German flag. No shade on the German flag, I just don't, that's not what I'm going for. It's not the look. It didn't look like, the colours just weren't me, that's the basic reason. It's not because it looked like a flag. I mean, that's going to happen at some point, right? So I just need to find the right colours. I've got plenty of yarn in my stash that would be perfect for it. I just need the right colours. It does use Vilja, so I might just use Vilja again. And they're made up more colours now, so that's great. Maybe I'll have some leftover yarns in the end. It does use a lot of yarn, so it'll have to be a substantial amount of leftovers. But yeah, I really do want it. I think it would be very wearable if I get the right colours. It'll be good. It'll be good. So, number 8. I feel a bit cheeky for putting this one in. It was the last one I added to the lineup, I think. And I've kind of started it. I did start in the summer, but Loophole never added it as a Ravelry project because I didn't get very far. I'm not gotten very far at all, in fact. I was just at the starting stages, and then there was some things that I felt like was an error in the pattern, but then I've been reassured that it's supposed to be offset by 1 stitch for some reason. It makes it look like it's in the middle anyway. I don't know how that works. So I know exactly where I left off, even though it's very complicated and you need to keep track. I can sort of get back into it. And that is the Surah tuck by Åsa Tricosa, the inventor of the ziggurat method. She's got like 3 or 4 of these tops, and I've got all the patterns, but I landed on this one because I quite like that it's got this tuck at the back neck that kind of flares out into more fabric, and that is just very nice and flowy and airy when, you know, when it's summer and it's super hot. And I have gotten on a bit of a summer top kick, which happened last summer because it was just so hot and I need to wear my own knitwear to feel like myself. So I'm just powering up some summer tops that I can wear, and that's also easy to wash, so they're not going to be super stinky. So for this I am using Sunless Thin Lina, which is, I think it's like a linen cotton blend. I wonder if it's got viscose or something in it as well. It's really lovely. I used a regular lina for the top I don't remember the name of. I made a summer top in it and I really like it. It's very soft and flowy. It doesn't have the like stiffness of either cotton or linen. It's really nice. The colour range is sadly very limited. I don't really like most of the colours in the range of that yarn. So I mostly now just use grey and blue. That's pretty much it. I really wish they could like spiff off the colour range for that yarn. That's my wish. I am really excited about the construction though, because all of Åsa's garments are constructed around this idea that she doesn't like to weave in ends. Now, she doesn't hate purling as much as I do, so that's a bit of a downside. There might be a bit of purling sometimes. But she will basically do everything in her power to make sure you can knit from a cone, essentially, without joining yarn. I mean, not literally, but literally a cone, but just a few ends. And having it all kind of done in one piece and not having to seam anything together and just avoiding that whole assembly part. That speaks to me. Surprise. Plus the tailoring of her garments is immaculate. Like, they fit really well. They look very good. Everyone I know who has a ziggurat, they just look stunning in it. It just highlights the best of their bodies. You know, it works and everyone deserves that. So I have a lot of good things to say about that method. I don't even remember how this top was constructed. It was a really, really weird way. And I'm excited about it. So yeah, you'll hear me talk about it later. Lastly, number 9 has been a regular on my make-9. I think it was both last year and possibly even the year before. I think it's called the Fin julekofte. Could be wrong there, but it's designed by Tori Seierstad. I've done a couple of patterns before, but never a garment, and I'm really excited to do this one. And I just need to get around to it, basically. I've been toying with the idea of turning it top down because I worry a little bit about the length of it. But what I think I will do is actually provisionally cast on from after the rib and just knit it up, because satin sleeves are actually a little bit better suited to work bottom up if you want to fit it to your shoulders. Hey son, so it's all good. I'm gonna stop soon. So then I can just pick up the stitches and do the rib down later and have the perfect length for my needs. So I want to do the recommended yarn. I want to knit it in Sølje by Hillesvåg, and I think that would be awesome. So if that's going to happen this year, I don't know. But clearly the sun is trying to tell me that I need to pack up my bags and head for New York. So I'm going to do that. Wow, my ISO settings are rubbish, aren't they? That's very bright. It's very bright. Ouch. This is why I don't get people who want to have sun-facing housing. Like literally everywhere is sun-faced. I'm like looking for a place I want to live. And I'm just like, doesn't this bother you? Is nobody bothered by this? Am I crazy? Am I a vampire? Clearly, I look like one. So that's all I have for you guys this time. This was just like a little bonus episode for you to see my knitting plans and how I think about them in the planning stages. They may have lots of different things may happen. I may do it differently. I may choose different yarn. I may choose different patterns here. Who knows? So that's my plan. Do let me know down below if you have any projects for your make-9. Have you made a make-9 on Instagram? I just think the main thing about make-9 is that you don't put any pressure on yourself. It's just a way of reminding yourself what you want to make. And if you don't make it, that's fine. And that's all I have to say. Promise. I'm going to get going. See you next time. Bye.